Well, folks, you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it's time for, in this case, episode 569 of the RecPoker podcast. But we're going all the way back to episode 1 tonight because we have the original founder of the show, Steve Fredlund, is back on the RecPoker podcast. This is quite a treat. We've made it more than halfway to 1,000. We finally get the guy back. We're going to find out all sorts of information about what's going on in Steve Fredlund's life these days. I'm excited for that. This is the chats edition, so we're having our interview like we do every Monday night. We also have a forums edition, just talking strategy. Now, if you're a regular listener, you know I'm your host, Jim Reid. I'm Bluffsterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on Twitter. And I've got the best freaking job on the world, talking poker with my friends here on the podcast every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on YouTube, where you can join us for free every week and win a prize just for showing up. Now, we're going to talk to Steve in just a second, but first I have to thank our sponsors. We are brought to you by Running Aces. They are the official sponsor of the RecPoker podcast, and we couldn't be more pleased to have them on board. Just an hour, less than an hour north of the Twin Cities in the beautiful state of Minnesota. Go check out the action there at runaces.com. We really depend on the support of our sponsors because most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization. And so sponsors and premium members are hugely important to what we do here. And I've been a bad little boy about returning some emails lately. So I've got a few premium members to thank who have signed up in the last little while. So Robert Little, Sean Edward, Paul Marantelli, love that name, Hunter Glass, Brett Warren, Chris Trost, Haim Epstein, Joe Millay, and Dylan Engel. We're bringing in a whole panel of new premium members that have signed up over the last few weeks. So thank you all for your support. It means the world to us here. Your $15 a month makes a huge difference for what we do here with the Wrecking Crew at RecPoker. And if anyone else, if you're interested in getting involved with this fantastic group of wizards, it only costs $5 for your first month of RecPoker if you use the code RecPoker at checkout. But of course, you can come join us for free and use all our free tools and resources in the free RecPoker community, where all it takes to join is an email address and a smile. Now, they let me host the show on Mondays, but I'm only one man. It takes a group, a gang, a crew to make the magic happen around here. We call this group of wizards the Wrecking Crew. And if you want to find out more about me and the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew or just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here on the show, starting with our producing co-host, Chris Jones.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the Poker Stars home game, and I help run our monthly deep dive strategy segment.
And I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN Everywhere, and I help organize our home games.
I'm Kim Kilroy. I'm PetVet33 on social platforms, Fergie56 in the home game. And I run a hand history review, which we're going to actually do this Wednesday. And we're going to talk about some satellite hands. So come join us on Wednesdays.
I'm Rob Washam. You can find me as Rabman50 just about everywhere. And on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, you can join us for our book study.
It's just a few of the fun things we get up to every day, week, and month over here at RecPoker. Come check us out and get involved. It's a great group, and you will definitely find some fun ways to improve your poker game if you do. But it all started back in 2016. A guy from Minnesota had a dream and a microphone and started a podcast, mostly based around some colorful characters in his home game club. But don't let me tell the story. I'd like to introduce Steve Fredlund back on the RecPoker podcast. I'm throwing it back to you, Steve. What a treat. Welcome back to the show.
Well, it's fun to be back. It's weird to be on this side of the microphone. It's been too long, but yeah, it's been a long journey for me, and you guys have continued the journey on in amazing fashion. So thanks for having me back.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be complete. This is a chapter in the show that we've all been looking forward to for a long time. So we'll probably get some questions from the YouTube chat about sort of like, your original part in RecPoker and that kind of stuff. But I want to start talking about what you've been up to more recently. A little birdie told me that smart folks can find a book authored by the one and only Steve Fredlund, available wherever quality novels and printed materials are found. Let's start there. Tell us about the book.
Well, smart folks are going to want to look for a different book, but if you are as educated and as intelligent as I am, you might enjoy it. Yeah, I'm guessing Little Bird was Chris Jones because he's he's an author himself and he's been involved in kind of my process of thinking this through. But yeah, there it is. Yeah, I've got a copy myself too. Yeah, just recently, part of my journey has been I guess it's been very cathartic in a sense the last couple of years trying to understand who I am, what do I want out of life, and these age-old questions. And one of the things that I kind of had to come to grips with is I've spent almost my entire life putting everybody else first, trying to do the right thing, trying to make sure, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I do that. That's what I'm supposed to do. Do that, do that, do that. And it really kind of culminated in kind of an acute anxiety attack that kind of opened my eyes and kind of led to a whole bunch of other things that we could talk about. But part of this journey of trying to find myself is realizing how much I've always tried to do the right thing. And what I found is that happiness in many ways is found in doing the unright thing. And so not the wrong thing. Don't hear me wrong. So the book is really that. It was intended initially to be like a self-help book from the view of an expert. I had written 75,000 words, 70 citations. Like I had researched the crap out of how do we become happier. But I just kept telling the publisher, this is just not the book I'm supposed to write. I'm not an expert. I don't want to be an expert. I don't want people approaching me like I'm an expert. And so we scrapped it. And I ended up writing this memoir. And it's really my stories of living life, trying to always do the right thing and the journey away from that to doing the unright thing. So kind of a long answer to a short question, but it's just a memoir, pretty simple memoir called Do the Unright Thing, Memoir of a People Pleaser. It's got a fine picture of me as a 9-year-old boy. At the time, I had a different last name, and I was scared to death of doing the school photos, and you can tell in the picture.
It's okay. Well, tell us a little about, because when people hear the not right thing, as you kind of pointed out, we naturally go to does he mean the wrong thing? Talk a little bit about what's the difference between those two and why should we be doing not the right thing?
Yeah, I think it's really about who defines the right thing. I think it's really about an external definition. And so many of us, myself included, especially if you're a people pleaser, like this, you get this on steroids if you're a people pleaser. We're trying to do ththings right because that's what life is, right? You grow up and you get the right grades and you go to the right school and you get the right job and you marry the right person and you have the right house and you're doing it right. And it's well-intentioned and the people around you are well-intentioned, but everybody else is defining what the right thing is. And if you are a people pleaser or if you're predisposed to that, you just do it because that's what you're supposed to do. That's the right way to live. I'm living the right way. And I think for a lot of people, that works out great. Like, honestly, like it just works out. They have a good life on paper. They're fine with it. But then there's the few of us that wake up one day when we're 48 years old and realize that we're not even living our own life. And so it's not about doing the wrong thing. It's even the unright thing is just kind of a catchy title. It's really about redefining who gets to say what the right thing is. And what if my right thing is not the right thing in the eyes of the people that I care about or the world or whatever. And so that's why it's do the unright thing. As other people would define, here's the right thing for you to do, Steve. Keep doing this, stay an actuary, whatever it might be. Me saying, you know what, I'm going to allow my own right thing to take precedence, even if it's the unright thing in the eyes of other people.
So it sounds like in order to do that, if we're not going to sort of pay as much attention to what other people think is right for us, but we're going to decide like what's right for us ourselves, it feels like we kind of need to know ourselves pretty well. We need to, how do we find what is the right thing for us in that case?
That is the biggest challenge. And that's what I speak about quite a bit is that. And the reality is if we can't figure that out, the rest of it doesn't really matter. Like it's like owning a business like RecPoker, you're running that thing. If you don't know what you really want or what you're, if you don't really know the goal, if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, how do you make decisions? And I think that's true in our life. If we don't really know the kind of experience we want to have, how do we decide what kind of people we hang out with or what we do or the hobbies that we are engaged with? And so that is the big question. That is the central question, is what kind of life experience do we actually want to have? And it's not easy because we have all these defaults, right? We are born into a family and we inherit all of these ways on what we're supposed to think, right? All these set of norms, what you believe spiritually, and about the role of women and guns and hunting, and so your favorite sports team, which isn't the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Hey, now.
but we have all these defaults, we have all these expectations, we have all these, what we're supposed to do. And I think that's what makes it really hard. So your question is, I'm not answering your question because that's the hard piece. The hard piece is, what kind of experience do you really want to have? And I think the work that we're trying to do, the work that I'm inviting other people into, is learning how to strip away all of the expectations, all of the shoulds, all of the supposed tos, all the defaults, to say, what kind of life experience do you really want to have? And so I can't tell you the answer. I can tell you the process that we go through and the intentionality that it takes. But it takes a lot of courage, frankly, to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure, of course. If anyone I see we've already got some people typing out in the YouTube chat. Thanks for sticking around. If anyone in the panel, of course, has any questions, feel free to unmute. While we're talking about the YouTube chat, I do just want to mention, if you have any questions for Steve, type them in there, of course. We're also going to be doing, we're going to be playing Stake, Study, Stack later in the show. So we're always looking for suggestions for poker players that we can use in that game with Steve. And we announced that we were getting close to 1,000 YouTube subscribers last week, and we made it, gang. We made it yesterday. We had some awesome participation, some people buying in and getting involved, and we made it to 1,000. So I just want to thank everyone in the YouTube chat for coming and supporting the show. And if you're listening at home, that would be a great way to support the show without spending $1. Just come on over and support the show by subscribing to the YouTube chat. But stick around, and we're also, of course, going to give away a prize at the end to one of our YouTube chatters as part of our food bank donation raffle prize. So stick around to the end and get your questions into Steve here first. Chris, I see you unmuted, so I think we'll start with you. What's on your mind, boss?
Yeah, Steve, I wanted to just jump in there. You mentioned the process of writing this book, and it kind of took a path that I don't know how many people in our audience have actually tried to write a book, but it's a pretty daunting, frustrating, demoralizing process, especially when you sort of realize you've put a lot of work into something and it's not the right thing, and you got to scrap it and start over and build something again. And I'm curious about how you came to that realization in terms of writing it, and what was that dark night of the soul really, how you kind of overcame that moment and like really decided, no, I've got to write something else.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea of writing a book goes back well even before this process. I was working with you on early copies of what a book would look like, right? And then, years later, I don't know, 5, 6 years later, I don't even know, started writing this. And, part of the impetus for writing the book, frankly, was now as I'm an emerging keynote speaker, if you have a book, you get more credibility, you get more stages, all that kind of stuff. And so that was really, I should write a book, right? I fell into the should. You know what you should do? You should write a book. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll write a book. So I started getting into that, and that's when, well, what kind of book should I write? And listening to all these voices and all this stuff, and it was good. I learned a lot through the process, but I just never really felt like this is it. And I kept coming back to, well, what kind of speaker do I want to be? What kind of business do I want to build? And it wasn't as an expert, but I just kept pushing through because that's what I was supposed to do. Like the unright thing, like part of that was this whole process of writing the book. And so, yeah, it was kind of this frog in the kettle thing, but luckily as a frog, I could actually feel the water getting warmer. And so I just kept expressing this to the publisher. And you have these, if you hire a publisher, you go through this process where you have different editors and different people involved, and they kind of were like, oh yeah, kind of pat me on the head, good luck, power through. And then I ran into this other editor, I forget what her title was actually, and I was kind of expressing this to her, and she's like, don't do it, you need to write a memoir. And she kind of gave me permission to be like, just be honest, like, thank you. Like I needed somebody to validate that, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing writing a book. Like I'm not an author. I needed somebody to actually take what I was feeling and create an answer to that. And she kind of pressed the pressure relief valve and said, you know what, just write a memoir. Yeah, you got to scrap it, but if this is what is on your heart. And so that was the dark night of the soul kept getting darker, and I kept trying to suck it up and do it, because that's what you do. That's the right thing. The right thing to do is keep powering through. And then somebody comes along and says, psh, you could just write a memoir. Oh, what's that? I don't need to do APA citations. That'd be awesome. Like, let's start there. So that was the dark night of the soul came, with a really great, I guess, morning dawn, if you will.
Well, it just goes to show how helpful it is to have other people in your corner, right? To bounce ideas off and to be developing stuff with. It's hard to do whatever it is alone. Writing a book, learning poker, traveling through the world on this journey we call life. It's better when you've got people around you. There's no doubt.
For sure.
So what's it been like? So after RecPoker, I know you were doing small business coaching. You'd started this disc golf podcast. I know you've been working on the book for a long time, and getting more into the speaking, which has been a big part of what you're working on now. What are you doing for fun now? Are you still, is disc golf still a thing? Are you still enjoying poker? Like what are you doing
it's been an interesting journey. You and I, Jim, we were involved in some of that business stuff together. And I think, frankly, like when the pandemic hit, that was actually an opportunity because, the funding opened up for business coaches, business consulting. So doing some of that, and then that kind of dried up. And then it was a matter of just like, what can I do to make money? Like I was struggling because I had one, New Year's resolution every year, and that was to not have a real job at the end of the year. And that was it. And so I was working 1,000,000 hours, like scrapping thing together, doing poker reporting, substitute teaching. I found a little bit of consulting work, a little bit of coaching, just doing everything just to make a buck. And so the last few years were kind of that, like just scrambling to try to do anything to make a buck. And then it was about August of last year, July of last year, when I finally encountered somebody who helped me put together a brand for my speaking. Because I was doing a little bit of speaking, a couple $100 here. If you offer me $50, sure, I'll drive 6 hours to talk to your group. Why not? Just because it was $50 and I needed $50. But then sort of this brand emerged, and I found my voice of what to say. And so when this kind of emerged as a Safari dude around the same time as I was writing the book, and all of it kind of blends together because that book, even the research piece, the interviews, all of this stuff kind of was a cathartic experience, helped me realize who I was, what I wanted, and what I wanted out of the speaking business. So hopefully I'm answering your question, but it kind of gelled into this brand as the Safari dude, because I've been on a number of African safaris and I could talk about leadership and team building. And so let's combine those two things into that. Plus I have my own personal journey of trying to find happiness. And so all of that kind of merged together into this. And so I was like the end of last year, I was on the schedule to do pizza delivery. I would no lie, I was doing everything. And then the speaking started picking up a little bit, just enough, it takes like a 6-month lead time. So you start getting gigs for February and March and oh, this maybe will work. And so right now the focus is really on keynote speaking. And that's kind of it. I still do some coaching, a little bit of consulting, but it's mostly on the speaking side.
That's awesome. Well, I know that's been
such a long rambling answer.
Well, it's a long story, right?
I like to ask questions. I'm better at asking questions than even answering questions.
That's right. But what about on the other side of it? Like, what about for when it's time to relax or when it's time to have fun and to not have to worry about the work side of thing? Like, how are you? What are you doing to? Well, it was a complicated question. What are you doing to enjoy yourself when work isn't top of mind?
Yeah, so disc golf is one of those things you mentioned. I was, in the search to find the right thing, I was trying everything, spaghetti against every fridge I could think of. And I started the disc golf podcast, and that was fine. But yeah, disc golf is still one of those things that I will do. It's a kind of a way to go walking without being bored to tears.
Yeah.
Because how terrible is it just to go for a walk? Like that's terrible. Much less running. People do this.
Oh no.
I can't do this. So I need to be able to throw a disc or do something fun. And so yeah, that's still something that I do. We got a bunch of local courses. So I'll do that. And obviously this winter here in Minnesota, it allowed a lot of disc golf time in the vacant because we didn't have winter. Poker is one of those things that I've kind of haven't done for quite a while. And that's one of the things I want to get back into. My goal is this summer to start getting back into it. Not because I don't love it, just because when you're running a business, Jim, you know this, others have run businesses, you run the business and you're like, okay, I could go play poker, or I could get that one or two more things done on my list. And so, honestly, I'm at this tipping point right now where it feels like this keynote speaking thing is going to work. Jury's still out, but we have momentum. And I think if it works, because I'm trying to build it in a way that I don't have to work 80 hours a week. Like my goal is to really, basically do the same talk, speak 50 times a year, and the rest of the time just kind of work on the talk. And, you still got all kinds of administrative stuff. So if this works, then I will have the free time. So I'm trying to invest right now to be able to reward my future self without killing myself off. But at the end of the day, I like to stay busy. And if I've got downtime on a Saturday, I find something to do to work and keep myself busy.
Yeah, that is certainly true. From what I know about Steve Fredlund, you definitely know how to keep busy. There's not a lot of downtime on your plate.
Yeah, I know. That's a thing I need to learn. But maybe the unright thing is to be busy and not apologize for it. I don't know.
See, now it sounds like this unright thing could just be an excuse to get up to any kind of trouble. You know, this is a spin machine I'm learning here.
Yeah. However you want. You define what's right. That's the beauty.
I mean, that's true. You are the one that defines what's right, but no. Right. Chris, jump in.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you're on the RecPoker podcast. You came from RecPoker. You started RecPoker. Where does poker fit into your life right now? Is it sort of, I mean, you mentioned you want to get back into it. Is it something that you're just kind of have taken a complete break from? Are you playing every once in a while? What's sort of where does poker fit into your matrix right now?
Yeah, over the last couple of years, it's kind of ebbed and flowed, or I've kind of gone into it, gone away from it, gone into it, gone away from it. And frankly, some of the experiences I had going back to the casino were not positive. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, there's not, I mean, there's in the past, there's stuff that's targeted to me. This is just sort of like, I don't know. There's a bunch of crabby people here. And I'm just like, it kind of sucks. And it reminded me why I started RecPoker in the first place. I want to talk poker with people that are positive, encouraging, play some poker, play some home games, get to know the game a little bit more. And so right where I'm at right now is just kind of like, I'll go back to the casino here and there maybe, but I'm thinking about starting a home game again. Because I missed that. I used to run the home game, and that was really the crux of it. Or heck, I might even go play bar poker again, because the people are terrible and they're all drunk, whatever, but they're having fun and they're not crabby ass, And so, you want to know how to grow the game of poker. Don't go play a $75 poker tournament where everybody's taking 2 minutes to make a decision and they're pissed off that the ace hits on the river. Like, that's terrible for the game, and so I'm looking to, sorry for the swearing on the YouTube live stream.
Now that you've sworn, it means that we can start swearing too. So
yeah, I'm giving you permission. Yeah. But so anyway, so where I'm at right now, I love the game. I think the strategy depth has overcome me. Like it's like I gave up. Like I'm not interested. I'm not going to learn what I need to learn to really become a top level player. So it's back to community. For me, it's back to how do I surround myself with people that just want to get together, have a fun time. The better player eventually wins, but it's more about laughing and showing each other cards and having fun and not taking 3 minutes to make a decision.
So let's take on from that, because some of our listeners, this is episode number 569, I think. Amazing. I said, which is just crazy to think. I've only been around since 157. Like, you did a lot of this heavy lifting before I even got here. Let's talk about those early days, Steve. So sure. When you first started RecPoker, it was really sort of like a solo project. I remember listening as an early, as one of the, you remember, I joined as one of the first premium members back in the day, but I'd been listening to the podcast for a long time. And you tried a few different ways of doing it. You got a few of like the core team, what would become the core team of the Wrecking Crew involved. A lot of whom started in that original home game club of yours. So tell us, some of our newer listeners or viewers here at YouTube, just talk to them a little bit about starting the show, starting the group, who you got involved with, and sort of like what that experience was like.
Yeah, I'll share to the best of my memory. I'm an old man. That was like,
it was a long time ago. It's true.
I don't know. Back in the day, we had Rob Washam playing up at Grand Casino Mille Lacs, and Rob and I would play together quite a bit. And the best I remember it was sort of like this. I wanted to learn the game. I had just learned the game. Like literally, I just started playing. Me and my buddy, between us, we had like 11 teenagers. And we were thinking, what can we do to connect with our kids? And so somebody brought up Texas Hold'em. None of us had ever played. We started playing for like a quarter a night. And I just fell in love with the game. And that's really, I wanted to find people that could help me get better, to learn the game. And I just could, I listened to some podcasts and it was just like, hey, here's what we did Friday night. It was so much fun, whatever, just entertainment. That's fine. And then the rest of it was like this deep, in-depth sort of stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know. And so I couldn't find that community of people to just talk poker in sort of the amateur level, rec level sort of way. And so that's why I started it, frankly. I started it to just have an excuse to talk poker with people, And so that's what it was. And, there's like people really don't know this. I think there's like, is there like 9 or 10 like missing episodes at the beginning? There's a story there. People are like, where's episodes 1 through 10? Like, there's a story there. We could explore sometime, but there's a reason that those don't exist in the public view. But I was trying different formats, working with different people, all this stuff just to try to talk poker. And there was never any thought that it would become like a top 10 poker podcast and a training poker site and the merch and all the stuff that you guys have built it into. It was just a way to talk poker. And so so the early people were just kind of the people that wanted to talk poker, and that's what it was. And then eventually we're like, hey, maybe we could talk to a bigger name person. And so that kind of is where some of the guests started growing into that, because that was fun. And then we got I forget when it was, first year 1, year 2, kind of got a break when I got the attention of Poker News. And so my buddy Stacy and I were out in Vegas, and we got to jump on the Poker News podcast, and they gave us a plug. We're talking, I think it was Sarah and Jeff Platt maybe. And it was just kind of this sweet conversation about these weird recreational players that are having this podcast. And that kind of gave us a bump, and that gave us some momentum. And then we started getting a little bigger names, and it went from there. But yeah, I mean, iterations of what this is, I didn't know what I was doing. But I am one of these people that I'll fail forward. I don't care. Like, I would rather do something, have it fail, have to adjust, have to apologize, whatever, and maybe to a fault, than somebody likes to sit in the wood shop, creating the plan for the perfect thing, and maybe never even goes with it. And so that was it. Just kind of fall forward, surround myself with good people that had grace for me, people that were smarter than me, and then see what happens.
And have you learned from poker lessons that you've applied in this new branch of your career, or have you learned lessons from building the RecPoker community that you've then applied in this new branch? Talk about that a little.
Both. I mean, I've learned a lot about myself, where I'm good as a leader, where I'm terrible as a leader. I've learned those kind of things. But I mean, poker itself, I actually speak a little. I have 2 primary talks, and then I get this third talk that I've gotten to do twice so far, and it's what poker's taught me about life. And it's really taking the lessons from poker. I mean, poker as a game has so many insights about life, decision making, the impact of variance. I mean, we live in an age right now, like in the NBA or something like that, where people don't want any human variance, right? So we have replay after replay after replay because we don't like the fact that somebody could be wrong on a call, and so we have this sense of entitlement builds up because every call should be right. And I think part of what I get a chance to talk about in the talk is just, there's variance in life. There's human mistakes. There's human error. There's situations where you make the right decisions and things don't go well. You make the wrong decisions and things go well. Like, this is the human experience, has variance. And so it kind of gives me that opportunity because, you're playing poker. Yes. If you have pocket aces against pocket kings and you get it in set over set on the turn, you should win. Sometimes you don't. And, the sense of entitlement, nobody understands probability and statistics. Let's start there. But, because you should lose that a portion of the time. But I think, we have the sense of entitlement that if we make the right decision, we should win. And that is just not life. And I think it's an element of poker that's good there too. So yeah, I've learned a ton about poker, or poker's taught me a lot about life that I'm able to implement, but also myself as a leader. I've learned my strengths, my weaknesses. I'm great, I think, at starting things, getting people fired up, getting the momentum built. I'm terrible at managing and leading. That's okay to admit that. It just is. And so, if I had this whole life to do over again, I'd probably become a serial entrepreneur where I just start stuff and then say, hey, give me 5%, you can have it, and just keep starting stuff because that's what I love to do. And, to a fault, because it's hard for me to stay on task with things that have already been created. So yeah, I've learned a lot. Some the good way, some the hard way. I've also learned a lot about humans. There's some really terrible humans out there. Maybe I'm one of them. I don't know. But I part of why I left RecPoker is because there are some terrible humans, and I don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up to them.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Since you mentioned it, I mean,
Sure.
the world's full of terrible humans. I mean, you get 100 doctors, 100 car salesmen, 100 librarians. You're going to get some jerks in that room, no matter what industry you're in. I think poker's maybe more polarizing than most. We have some of the best and some of the worst in our collection. But can you share just some details about sort of like what that was like and what you were feeling when you left and why, and sort of how you've come to grips with that?
Sure. I mean, there's sort of an accumulative effect. There's some of this where it's just small things over the years. I mean, some small things, some big things. You know, I used to run a charity tournament all in for Africa. A guy ripped me out of 10 grand. People don't know that story because I covered it because I wanted to be true to my promise to the donors of the nonprofit. Terrible, right? Because you just meet these people that for some reason just want to be these kind of people. But then, you know, over the years, you know, as we started RecPoker and we were charging, everything was free, but we charged $10 to do this one thing. And people are like, how can you charge money? This is a, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like it's costing us like $2,000 to put this on. And we're asking $10 for the 5 people that are going to show up at this thing. Like, seriously, you know, but anyway, just those little things like that. And then, yeah, it came to a head, frankly, and through Twitter, and some of you probably know this whole situation. You know, I just got this nasty troll. You know, he's well respected in the poker community, but he was out to get me. Like, just, I don't know what I did wrong to him, people he know. I really don't know, honestly. And then he would call me. He was calling me, threatening me.
Yeah, that's.
And I'm like, you know, of course I'm Steve, so I'm talking to him like, I don't understand. Just tell me more about what is going on here. Like, I don't understand where this. I just don't understand. And he was just relentless. I know your story. I know that you're a snake oil salesman. I have no idea where this is coming from. And I probably overshared, but at this point, I don't care.
No, it's good.
If I get death sentences, you guys go back at X and Twitter, and you know, if I get killed, please look it up. And but anyway, it was just that kind of stuff. I'm like, what am I going to do here? Like, is this? I mean, I know the cost of leadership comes with people not liking you. I've been a former executive pastor. I've been board chairs. I've been in leadership in Fortune 500s. I know that that's part of the deal. But this felt different, and it felt so unjustified, and I just didn't get it. And I'm like, what is this? Am I just dealing with mentally struggling people, or did I really do something wrong? What? I don't know. And I just didn't know what to do with it. And at the end of the day, it was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, where I'm like, this isn't worth it. And I hated it, but it was definitely something that pushed me out the door.
Well, I mean, I could tell in, you know, talking to you since then, like, I know it was not an easy decision, but it felt very clear to you that you had this path to take. And it sounds like, you know, you've been treading the right steps, and it's taking you where you need to be. I mean, from all accounts that I can hear anyway, it sounds like things are really working out.
Well, it's been a journey. I mean, I'd left the corporate world about 4 years before that, still kind of scuffling, that kind of thing. And then since then, I've still been scuffling. But yeah, I mean, I think we're in a good place now. But if I'm fully transparent, I'm fully honest, it was kind of a long road to hoe, and that was a real tough chapter for me. Just because the whole RecPoker thing was all about, I mean, I wanted to talk to people. We built this fun community, this nice community, and now I'm like getting attacked, and I'm just like, I don't know. You sort of like, part of you just wants to give up on humanity. And that's my darkest days. I'm like, just screw this, screw everything. Like, just what's the point? Like, you know, so that was really hard. And so I think I'm in a good place now. I think writing the book, frankly, was a very cathartic thing for me to do, to understand who I am, what I want, who I want to surround myself with, what kind of life I want to live. Gives me I feel more empowered to be intentional about things, to just say, yeah, that was a bad chapter. This is what I want. No, I don't want that anymore. I'm not going to engage with that person. I think I've been more empowered that way. It's too bad it's taken me to age 54 to figure some of that out, but I'm better now than later, I guess.
Some people never figure it out, man. I mean, you're definitely ahead of the curve on that.
And who knows? I might not even be on the right track now, right? I mean, we always think that we understand things perfectly at the place we are in our life, until later we're like, I didn't know anything then. So, I think I'm in a good place now, but hold my beer in 2 years, I could be like, oh my God, I didn't know anything.
That's a good point. Yeah, put yourself forward into 65-year-old Steve's body and say, what were the things when I was 55 that I thought I had all figured out? Right.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I'm glad you bring up the troll thing, because I do think, like, haters are gonna hate, and I like, no matter how well intentioned you are, no matter how many good things you do, people are gonna believe bad things about you and say bad things about you, whether they're true or not. And like, honestly, even living a virtuous life isn't going to protect you from people that don't like you just saying mean things about you, or like untrue, false things, bad things about you as well. And it's, I'm a pleaser too, Steve. You and I both have that in common, where we want to like help people, and we're like, we want to be someone that people reach out to for help, and we want to like make people's lives better. And so I think we are susceptible to trolls. in this way, because we want to like treat them as though they're acting in good faith, as though we could engage with them and like turn them around and, you know, drop the scales from their eyes. But I'm learning on Twitter the same way that you are. Like sometimes you just have to just like ignore the trolls, just don't feed the trolls, and they're not going to go away. But like, I guess all we can control is like how far we let them in, right?
Yeah, and I know you've been through that too. I think most people have been through that. And I think, you know, there's different personality types that can handle that. I'll admit I can't handle it. Okay, does that make me weak? I don't know, maybe. I don't care. But I can't handle it. So I can suck it up. I can pretend I can handle it. I can, you know, look for advice, and I can tell people to tell off, shove off, but I'm going to lose sleep at night. I was worried that this person was going to kill my family. I had no reason. They didn't have a direct threat to that, but I'm like, these are the kind of thoughts that were going through my head. What if I tell this guy off? What's going to happen? And so, you know,
he's got guns in his profile photo, so it's not like it's a huge leap. Like you don't know, right? Yeah,
you don't know. And so those are the things that were going through my head. Like, do I tell my wife about this just in case there's a mystery truck coming into our house? Like, these are the weird things. And so it was just like, yeah, you know what? I can admit I can't handle it. That's okay. Move on with my life. And so since then, I mean, I'm not on Twitter anymore at all. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not saying those things are terrible things, but I can't personally handle those. And so I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on YouTube. Like, that's it. And I found my community on LinkedIn. I found my community through my newsletter. I found my community through the people that I speak with, the event planners. And like, that's enough for me at this point. So yeah, I think, you know, it feels like I failed in some capacity. But
really,
well, sure, because, you know, I feel like I've backed out of the public eye in some sense, you know, the RecPoker, some other things, just like, you know, I don't want to be in leadership in a public view. You know, I've been offered to run for whatever, blah, 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 Senates or whatever, these different things. I'm like, oh my God, like that's my worst nightmare. Like, I think I can make a change. But now you're saying 50 to 70% of the people absolutely hate you. Like, I can't handle one guy hating me. Like, I love the idea of serving my community on a school board. I love the idea of serving, you know, representing my community in Congress. But like, that's like my worst nightmare. And I think a few years ago, I'd have been like so excited about that offer that I would have been like, sure, if that's what I should do, if that's the right thing. And now at least I understand myself enough to go, that would be terrible. You know?
Yeah.
So,
well, it sounds to me like more like an educated pivot than failure, right? Like you've just got more information and you're just making better decisions now with what's available to you. So, you know,
it's only for real. Yeah, that's fair. And I appreciate that. That is a generous way to look at it. And I think that's true, but I think that's where we get trapped into this preconceived notion of what is success. Success is more pay, higher, you know, higher position, more influence, bigger in the public eye. Those are successes. So I kind of myself into that thing. I because, well, the standard is you keep getting better and better and more and more and more and more. And so I failed relative to that standard, but it's now redefining. My unright thing is redefining what is success. And for me, success is being happy, being able to wake up every day and not fear for my life, and working hard at something that I believe in. Yeah. So I've kind of redefined what success is.
Yeah, that sounds freaking great to me, man. If you're in the YouTube chat, if you got a little more time to get some questions in, and then we'll be moving on to Stake Study Stack and closing the action with Steve Fredlund. Steve, tell us a little more about the book. First of all, I want to see the cover again. Hold this up right close for the camera so everyone can take a peek. I love it. That is a great photo. That is an excellent photo.
Does that shirt and hair scream 1980s? I mean, that's my mom's bowl cut. You know, you can tell we didn't go to a barber. You know,
and where can people find this, Steve, if they want to pick up a copy?
Yeah, so it's Amazon.com's got the hardcover, the paperback, the ebook. We're working on an audiobook now. And then if you want to support the local booksellers, you know, there's several in the area here that are carrying it, but also bookshop.org. I believe I had that right. Bookshop.org. Chris is nodding his head. He's my go-to. So you can get, it basically treats it like an Amazon.com, but you can select the local bookstore that you want to support. That can actually that'll get a piece of it. So if you want to support a local bookstore, you can go to bookshop.org, order it online, and then the royalty for them goes to whatever bookstore you select. So
that's a great
I know, because you know you got the brick and mortar local bookshops, and you got Amazon, and they're not exactly friends of each other.
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, anywhere.
Chris-
Otherwise, reach out to me. I've got copies. I can sign them and send them out. I have no problem doing that either. Yeah.
Nice. Chris?
Yeah, I was just gonna give a 5-second
Oh.
plug. Bookshop.org is an amazing organization. They're trying to change the whole book selling business. So if you haven't heard of them, go check them out, get your books there. And get Steve's
Right
book
on.
there.
You might
Yeah.
have to- yeah, and just a quick shout out to, well, I'll forget people too, but I know Chris and his lovely bride Dana and Mr. Somsky and Jill and Jack Burke, Drebeck, Chris Gorton, a lot of the RecPoker family came to my book launch. I had a live book launch a couple weeks back, and we just had a blast there too. And just so shout out to the folks that there and a number of other people that have actually supported the effort along the way. And I'll give one special shout out. It might surprise you, Blake Bond, Minnesota great, really he supported me in a real nice way in writing the book. So just a shout out to him as well. A lot of people don't see, and he's got this personality that's pretty big and hard and all those kind of stuff sometimes, but he does have this underbelly that's pretty generous. And in the past, he's donated gifts that I've taken to homeless people in the past. And now here he was really just very generous in helping me get this book going. So shout out to him and all the folks that have supported me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was one part of writing the book that you really enjoyed?
Being done. Chris can attest to that. No,
Yeah.
I think being forced to really try to recall some of the stories and connect the dots. Like, there's so many stories, and a lot of them, I didn't include, a lot of them the editor didn't include. They said, oh, that's a nice story, but it doesn't help the reader.
Right.
But there was those moments where I was really kind of forced to remember. Like I talk about how Weird Al Yankovic caused me to trap gophers. There's one of the chapters called that. And I had to, go back to my mom, go back to my old neighbors and say, am I remembering this right? Like, here's what I was remembering. Remember, the cassette tape at Pomida, and I remember the gophers getting $1 a piece to trap the gophers so I could save the money to buy the cassette tape. And, so just kind of, it was fun to kind of go back because I rebuilt some of those connections that were there long ago because I wanted to be accurate in the book. So that was pretty fun, I think, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, are you, we're going to wrap this up shortly, I guess. Do you have a sense, you talked earlier about how you're sort of constantly moving from project to project. Do you feel yourself being pulled in any new directions? Or how are you going to kind of anchor to this current state? Or would that even be what success looks like? Like what's your take on that?
I really do want to anchor to this place right now as the Safari do, but more so inviting people to view their life like an epic adventure. So many times we view our life like, we're waiting for the next good stuff to happen. And we're just kind of biding time in the middle, waiting for the next birthday party, waiting for the next, podcast, whatever it might be. And the invitation, because it's worked for me, the invitation is really, how do we start viewing our entire life as an epic adventure? Like we're on an African safari. And I think that's the grounding. And I love that message. It's connecting with people. It's building great relationships. I'm preaching it to myself all the time, waking up every day, I have my little zebra here to remind me, that, hey, life's an adventure, and so that's the grounding piece where the multi-passionate Steve got to be doing something new is kind of around that. And so the speaking is grounded there, but looking at, a video course related to the content. Looking at the book, and there might end up being 5 books because I have 5 different things I talk about. So some of these peripheral things, one of the things I love to do is go on African safari. And so I'm looking at how do we start making that possible for either the companies I work for or the individuals that want to go on safari, maybe retreats. And so there's plenty up here that may end up coming to fruition. But the grounding is, no, I want to be talking about how do we live our life like an epic adventure. And I think that's how I want to spend my time until my park closes, if you will. And so I think that is the grounding, that is the linchpin. And that's what's really resonating for me. And when I'm sharing that on stage, it feels right. It feels good. And when people are coming up after in tears and all that kind of stuff, and it feels good. And so I think that's the grounding, but hold my beer, I could be starting a new, harmonica playing Parcheesi podcast next month. You know, who knows?
Well, it sounds like you are really hitting your stride. So congratulations, Steve. It
Thanks.
really is. It's great to see it. And I mean, having a book out, that's a binary thing, right? Like you're across that river now. So really, congratulations. That's a lot of work. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. It's I mean, you know, I have a huge imposter syndrome, like everything I do, even when I was the RecPoker podcast. And now it's still like, well, I'm an author, but it's a memoir, you know. I mean, I'm sort of always downplaying everything because it's a short book, it's a quick read, it's just my stories, you know. So I kind of downplay everything, but the reality is it has opened up doors. There are speaker bureaus that won't represent you without a book. There
Right.
are stages you can't get without a book. I can bring it now to my events. I've been selling some, and so yeah, it's a real, yeah, it's something they can't take away from me, right? And part of it is I wanted my wife and kids to hear some of these stories. Tracy, my wife, didn't know most of the stuff in the book, you know, and so it kind of gave me permission to tell my story. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear it, man. I really am. We're going to wrap this up shortly with Stake Study Stack from some suggestions from the YouTube chat, and then we'll start closing the action with our speed round. Folks in the YouTube chat, if you start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat right now, we're going to, if you're a new listener, every week we give away a prize at the end of the interview, and we do it in a way that hopefully raises a little awareness about food banks around the world. Food insecurity is a plight that affects a lot of people, more people than you might think, some more people maybe in your own neighborhood or community than you might expect. You never know who's having a little trouble putting food on the table or feeding a child or a loved one. And if you just pull out your smartphone right now and Google food banks near me, you'll find some quality organizations that could benefit from a few hours of your time, a few dollars from your wallet, or some non-perishable food items from your pantry. So I'd encourage you to do that. Just to do our part right now, we're just going to make some people type the words food bank into the YouTube chat. We're going to manifest some goodness here and give away a prize. So start typing the words food bank in there, and hopefully we can help people feed the people that need some food in their little tummies. It's a great ROI on your own personal investment in making the world a better place. All right, so Chris Jones, you have been paying attention to the YouTube chat. We have had a lot of very similar suggestions for Stake Study Stack, I see this week. Some people that know Steve Fredlund, it seems.
Yeah, they do.
How are we I can't see the YouTube chat, so I don't know what's going on.
It's very positive.
Yeah, no, this is so first of all, Steve, I don't know if you're even aware, but we have this game. It's called Stake Study Stack. I'm going to give you 3 names, and you're going to pick one person that you would stake in a tournament or cash game, one person who you'd want to study with or learn some poker with, and one person who you just like to stack. You just like to take all their chips at the table. And for this one, I have never told our guests this before. There is a correct answer. So,
so you're one of them, huh, Chris?
I know I am not one of them, but there's still a correct answer. Okay, so the names are John Somsky, Rob Washam, and Taylor Maas.
Oh,
we don't try and make it easy.
I want to stack Maas. I know I should want to study with the guy. I know I should want to stake the guy. Like, he's a world-class. If he's not already, he's going to be a world-class player. Like, Maas is legit. But you know what? I've slow rolled him. He's slow rolled me in the past. I gotta stack Maas. Like, sorry, Taylor. If he was here, maybe I'd feel worse because I'm a people pleaser, but no, I don't know what man. So staking and studying, God, I don't know.
It's hard, right?
Like, here's the thing, like I say I want to study with both of these guys, Washam and Somsky, but I don't want to study. I just want to have a beer and hang out. Like both of those guys, I just loved both of you guys so much. Like, I just love everything you bring to the table. I love everything about you. I love your spirit. I love your humility. I love all of that stuff. Like, seriously. But Rob, you're still down in Arizona, I assume, right? All right, so I'm gonna stake Washam. Okay, and I'm gonna study with Somsky. And John, if we want to study, that's cool. If we want to just hang out and eat a burger, that's all the better. And then I'm gonna stack Maas.
Yeah, I figured your answer kind of makes sense there because, I'd want to study with Rob for sure, or stake him. But given my history, you probably wouldn't want to stake me. And like you said, you don't really want to even study with me. You just want to, hang out.
Well, I want to study with you if we have to, but I'd rather just have a burger.
Yeah, but studying could just be talking smart about poker like we always do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so formal. When you
That's
say
true.
study, it's formal. No, it's just, hey, let's get together and talk smart about poker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't,
Yeah, back
this
in the
isn't
old
pro
days-
dot poker, Steve. It's not pro dot poker. It's rec dot poker. We're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, back in the old days when I would study with somebody, it was like we go to a restaurant, get a basket of fries, and just kind of talk about what do you do with jacks? Like, what do you do?
Well, and if I can just jump in, I'm happy to report that number one, you got the answer correct. And number two, Taylor Maas is in the audience and wrote,
Oh, yes.
try your best only in your dreams.
I know.
Oh.
I remember. I think I remember stacking him once in my home game when we got into like a four bet shove situation with I had like ace. I don't know. I think I had a hand like ace queen or something. He had like ace seven or something. I don't know, but it's so rare. Like the guy just owns my soul. He probably kicked me out of poker. He's probably the reason I don't play poker anymore. Made me cry too many times. No, couldn't go wrong with all three of these guys. Just love you dearly.
Yeah. We don't make it easy. We don't make it easy on Stake Study Stack. We're gonna put you to a real decision. All right. Well, I'm excited to announce that that is the end of the official interview portion of the podcast. So let's head into our speed round, which we call closing the action. So we're gonna, if you get an answer correct, you're gonna hear that. I hope the sound's set up here. You're gonna hear this if you get an answer right. And if you are taking too long and we have to move on to the next one, this is what you're going to hear. Okay. We don't mind using the pass. You can also pass if you don't feel like you've got a good answer set up. We're going to cover a little poker and a little non-poker. We're going to take a scenic route here a little bit.
All right.
And here we go. All right, Steve Fredlund, closing the action. We're going to start with an easy poker question. What is your favorite poker hand?
Jack 10 suited.
Is poker a gamble or a skill game?
Gamble in the short term, skill in the long term.
What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
People that smell at the table.
And I think I know the answer to this one. We ask every guest, you'll love this, by the way. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's our Christmas movie. We have a children's book, a Die Hard children. Yes, 100%.
What's your favorite non-poker book?
I would say I don't read a lot. The Happiness Advantage.
Good, we got in there. Who's one of your heroes? Present company accepted.
John Somsky.
No, I specifically said present company accepted.
Are they accepted? Like that's okay?
No, like accepted.
Exempted.
Yes, exempted.
Maybe you said the right word.
Maybe.
Pass.
Yep. Favorite musical artist?
Bono.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What about a taco? Is a taco a sandwich?
No.
What about
But
a
they're
Pop-Tart?
amazing.
Is a Pop-Tart a
No.
sandwich?
No.
What's one thing you're afraid of?
Twitter people. I'm afraid of X. I'm afraid of X.
Should vacations be lazy or busy? Oh, I haven't been dinging. You had a lot of good answers. All right, we'll throw a couple
That's all
things
right.
in
I
here.
assumed I wasn't right on any of them.
No, those have all been good. I'm still getting used to the soundboard. We started the soundboard like last week. We're still getting the hang of it.
Okay, fair enough.
Should
Lazy.
vacations be lazy? All right, correct.
Yeah.
Yellow light coming up. Slow down or speed up?
Oh, speed up.
What's one thing you can't live without?
Tacos.
All right.
But they're not a sandwich.
They're not a sandwich. All right, last question. This isn't part of the speed round. You can take your time with this one. So you've had a great, rich life. You've had all these fantastic experiences. But if someone came up to you and had a gun to your head and said, Steve, you have to go back and do one thing differently. What's one thing in your life that you would choose to do differently?
Oh, I thought you were going to say what my favorite thing was. That was going to be easier. I would not become an actuary.
All right. Big answer. Big
Which
answer. You spent a
is
lot of your life as an actuary. So
my whole livelihood, my whole everything. I mean, it was created a good life, but I would not have gone to school for mathematics or become an actuary.
All right,
Mhm.
great answer. Great answer. And
Apparently
then
it
you
wasn't
never
right.
would have met Taylor Maas. Oh, damn
Apparently
it.
wasn't right. No, I mean,
What? You
maybe
never
I
would have
saw him
met
at
Taylor
Taylor, 'cause
Maas. So that like there's some real upside to that answer, I think, if you think
I
about
met
it.
him through Twitter doing the RecPoker thing. I don't know if
He
we
told
really
me that he
discussed it.
specifically seeked you out because he wanted a professional recommendation for his for yeah.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, it is what I'm
I
telling
hope
you.
it works.
Yeah.
I hope it works.
Nice.
Life would not be the same if I hadn't known Taylor Maas, and
It's
in a
true.
bad way. I'd have missed out on a lot.
Yeah, so many people can say that, and it's true about Taylor Maas. All right, well, I'm just tabulating this up here. This is like over 1 million points. I don't think anyone's ever had over 1 million points. That's got to be a new high score. No surprise. One-time RecPoker No Limit Hold'em Player of the Year champion. You know, this guy knows how to get results here at the RecPoker podcast. Congratulations, Steve. And yeah, thanks for coming back on the show. This has been a real treat, dude. It's good to see your face again.
My pleasure. I miss all of you guys. Don't think my being absent from RecPoker means I don't miss you guys and think about you all the time. This is a great community. I'm proud to be at least have some role in starting the thing, and I love what you guys have done with it. And man, keep on going and keep on having fun together. That's the key.
Well, it's dimmer for not having you as strong a part of it, but I know we'll see you again at a Running Aces event sometime soon. RecPoker weekend out at Running Aces, or somewhere else in the Discord or in the home game. So keep it up, and it is an absolute pleasure. Where can folks find you? You mentioned you're on LinkedIn and YouTube. Where should folks look for you and connect if they want to get more Steve Fredlund in their lives?
Best way is stevefredlund.com. Just my name.com, and that's kind of gives you an idea what I'm doing speaking. The link to the book stuff is there, and then link to LinkedIn is there as well. So that's a good place to start. Or just shoot me an email, man. Steve@stevefredlund.com. Let's reconnect. Love that.
Sounds great. All right. Well, we're going to talk about some upcoming events at that very same Running Aces, and talk about some home game winners and give away a prize. But once again, it has been a pleasure, Steve, and we'll have to do something like this again in even less than 2 years. I'm already looking forward to the next one.
That'd be fun. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Take care, Steve. So I got to mention, it is Pot o' Gold weekend at Running Aces this coming weekend. In fact, the first flights are starting this week. Day one's on March 13th through 17th. That's a $360 buy-in, and always a fun crowd up there at Running Aces. John Somsky, why don't we talk about celebrate some recent home game winners, and then we will give away a prize. We've got Marek Madness to talk about. We've got a special book study coming up to talk about as well. And it's a big month here at RecPoker. Start us off, John.
Well, we'll start off with none other than Rabman 50, Rob Washam, won the No Limit Hold'em Championship Series event.
Ooh.
And with that victory, he also propelled himself into first place in the Player of the Year points race.
Whoa.
Amazing.
Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn occasionally.
Then E. Anderson 85, Eric Anderson, won his first nightly victory for the year. Isenma got his or her second nightly victory for the year. Oslo Burger, Tron Vidar Stensby, got his first international victory for the year.
Awesome.
JB Twin Cities got her first international victory for the year. And Trey 371, Thomas Penna, won the LPP event. So he can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
That's right, Thomas. Send that email off. You're going to love your free month at Learn Pro Poker, one of our first learning partners, and just an all-around fantastic training site with lots of great stuff there. So congratulations, and send that email, you lucky dog. Rob Washam, we have a special appearance of the book study on Tuesday, April 19th, I think. Do I have that right? With the one and only Alex Assassinato? Oh, no, do I not? Okay.
No, it's March 19th.
March 19th. Oh, God damn it. I was so close.
Not April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That's a month in advance.
It's next week. It's the week. This
Yes.
episode comes out on Friday. It's the Tuesday following.
Correct.
March 19th at 7:30 Eastern. You'll be talking with Alex Fitzgerald himself and taking questions from our premium members.
Yes, we will. It's a wrap up of the book. We finished it up last session. And so we have Alex to come on and answer anybody's questions about the book, or really anything you want to ask Alex about, because he's very forthcoming he's very generous with his time. And so I look forward to that very much.
Yeah, it's true. He's always very open about sharing lots of aspects and details about his life, having to do with his poker career, but also just the rest of his life as well, and how he balances the two. He's a great conversationalist, and I always get a lot out of those conversations.
Yeah, we should also mention that we are looking for the next book cover in our book study, and I got some polls out there on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And also you can go to the book study group on the RecPoker website to also respond to the polls there if you don't have access to Twitter. So.
And you probably shouldn't. It's a hellscape. We all agree.
Yeah,
but
it is pretty bad.
It's fun every once in a while, but is it worth it? I still try to figure that out. but poker seems to have taken to Twitter. It's the one place that poker people seem to get around on socials. I'm not sure if that's even a good thing, but that's it's there.
Just be careful who you follow.
Yeah, that's right. And who you let follow you. Don't be afraid to block and mute. That's definitely true. So that's going to be super cool, and I love that our members get to take advantage of your polls and have a say in what the next events are going to be. Speaking of next events, we've got Brad from poker.org. Brad Willis is going to be on the show next week. I'm excited for that. I'm going to be talking to him about sort of how they look at sharing news and opinion over there. I'm really looking forward to that interview. And then for the next few weeks after that, I'm going to be off in sunny Dublin. They call it sunny Dublin because in Ireland it's notoriously sunny and warm all year round, from what I understand. So I'm really looking forward to that. The Irish Poker Open is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there. Kim Kilroy is going to be there. Stu and Elizabeth, Eric Ebson. I know a bunch of other RecPoker members are getting excited for the trip. And it's my first time at the Irish Poker Open. I've been to Ireland before, but I've heard so many fantastic things about this experience. I can't wait. So we'll have a different Wrecking Crew member sitting in the host chair over the next few weeks. We've got some fantastic guests lined up, and it's going to be a treat. I can't wait to listen along like a fan, just like everybody else gets to. That's going to be awfully fun. So let me see, Chris, is it time? Should we give away a prize to one of our lucky and generous YouTube chat members? If I'm going through the list here, I see Stuart Carriage at 1, the RRRCCC, K Poker Wannabe, Evil Roy Slade. That is 4 in that order. Am I correct?
That sounds
Looks
correct
like
to me.
All right. And do we have a nerdy die of infamy that we're going to roll and see who the winner is?
We do, although I'm having trouble getting my camera to show up. So it might it might be the honor system.
We'll just take your word for it this time. All right. So what are we rolling? Is it a
At least
four-sider?
Phil isn't in the audience. He'll be complaining about being bamboozled or whatever.
That's right.
So.
No bamboozling tonight. And I think we got Poppy on side, so we don't have to worry about the investigation, even if we're
all right. It is a 2.
A 2. I see the RRRCCC. Congratulations. Long-time listener, and I think we've emailed a couple times there. Hames, and Haim is actually a recent premium member. Haim is one of the members that recently signed up for RecPoker Premium. Smart move, the RRRCCC, because that unlocks a whole new tier of prizes for you in our food bank giveaway. You're gonna be able to choose between a month of Learn Pro Poker, pokercoaching.com, the Poker Forge Tournament Poker Edge. Oh God, I should stop listing these live on the show. I know I'm forgetting a couple of them. Jacka Coaching. There's a couple more. Some of our fantastic learning partners. Send an email. Red Chip. Yes, thank you, Rob. Send an email, the RRCCC. First of all, thank you for joining RecPoker Premium. That's awesome. And second of all, you're going to love your free month at one of these fantastic training partners. Send that email to info@rec.poker to claim your prize. What else, gang? Is there anything else that we should be mentioning before we wrap this puppy up? Episode 569.
Did you mention the pot of gold?
I did.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for double checking.
Then let's take us away. That's all.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, folks. All right. Well, if you enjoyed the show, please head on over to rec.poker/support. You can find a bunch of ways there to help us out, whether it's buying us a cup of coffee or just doing something nice like subscribing to the channel or to the podcast or something like that. Subscriptions help us out a lot. We're still a very small organization, and subscribing to the podcast, subscribing to the YouTube channel makes a big difference for us, and it's a great way to support what we're doing here. So thank you for that in advance. And otherwise, I guess I just have to thank the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. We couldn't do it without them. Thanks to Steve Fredlund for starting this whole dang thing. Rob Washam, Kim Kilroy, John Somsky, and Chris Jones for making all the magic happen around here. The YouTube chatters, and you, the listeners at home. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next week on the RecPoker Podcast.